Hello guys, welcome to the Real Writers of the OC. We are here again, so excited. This program is a program where we interview writers all from the Orange County area. This is the sunset of Laguna Beach behind me. Feels like I want to surf. I don't know how to surf. This show is just like the Housewives, except there's zero yelling, no yelling. So today we're interviewing an awesome writer. She has a children's book called All the Ways You Are Important to Me. She has a website called handcraftingalifecom. So happy to welcome Cassandra Rendon. Hi, Cassandra. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Bethany. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you. So let's talk about first, I read your children's book today. It is so cute, All the Ways You Are Important to Me. Now, let's just let everybody know that it's not just a children's book. There are images in there of items you can craft. And then at the end of the book, you have recipes, for lack of a better word, of how we can make those crafts that go along with the book. How cool. Tell me about the genesis about this book and how you got that idea.
So growing up, the women in my family are taught crafts. It's just a thing. My grandmother was a big crocheter. So that was the one that was handed down. As I've gone through my adult life, and as your elders start to age, there comes this point where, at least for me, I wanted to, show her and express to her, how much this skill that she taught me meant to me. And so, I got a degree in creative writing, and I also have this craft. So there was just kind of this, kind of aha moment for me, I guess, where I was like, oh, I can just like combine those things and that'll be good, right? And so the idea came that, a children's bedtime story seemed like a very natural, way to bring those two things together. And it gave me an opportunity to, create, there's 10 designs in this book, and they go from very, very simple to kind of like a intermediate beginners, so people can really work through them. And part of the thing for me is, I really wanted to be able to show my grandmother, like, look, here's this, this thing I can do, and I really appreciate, this skill that you taught me and this thing that you handed down, before my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia. So it felt very like there's this ticking clock on it, and I wanted to try and get it out so that, she could hold it in her hands and see it. And she's one of the people, I think she may actually be the first person that I list as a thank you in the acknowledgements, so.
That's so sweet. Yeah, to have something visceral. And to that point of having something visceral, I think for the kids too, it's really cool to see a picture in a book that goes with the words of the book, and then make the thing and then hold it up to the picture of the thing, like it was there and now I made it and now it's here.
One of the things that's actually been really special for me is some of the, like, my friends or, friends of friends who have been gifted or, purchased the book will send me like little videos on Instagram or something of, their kids, holding the little things and, saying the words with them, just like, oh, well, that's, it was a thing that I wasn't expecting to come out of the book, but it's been a very nice surprise and a joy to realize that, like, oh, like, hey, this thing is out there, and it really does bring joy to other people. So it was a nice bonus for me.
For sure. And it totally makes sense because it's like, writing is connection. And now you're taking this new way, an extra way of connecting. I'm connecting with the words, but I'm also connecting with what this is. And I made it with, weirdly, it's almost like you created through the book, the situation with your grandmother, where now a family member is making something with somebody else
right.
from your book,
Yeah.
That's cool. I love it. Okay, so you're working on a couple other things here. You have a narrative poem that's going to be published in the upcoming, there's going to be a Truth That Can't Be Told, book 2. That's the working title, or so I'm told by the powers that be. So tell me a little bit about that poem that you're working on now.
Yeah, so the poem is kind of, I'm sort of looking at it as a chance to go back to my university roots. And, I took a lot of, when you get a creative writing degree through the University of California, you have to choose an emphasis, and it's like one of 3. And, it's fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. And I just felt that I was terrible at poetry. It's just garbage. And so one of the funny things that ended up happening was I ended up taking so many poetry classes that ended up being my sub-emphasis below fiction. Because I do think that in working on the thing that you're worst at, it makes the thing that, you're trying to be good at, which for me was fiction. It really improved the quality of my prose when I was working on that. So, I'm working on this narrative poem, trying to get back to those roots in hopes that it will sort of assist me in this sort of post-pandemic journey, or I guess we're kind of still in the pandemic. But this journey I'm on and trying to get back into the writing and, really trying to take that more seriously.
Mm-hmm. What a great message to anybody who's watching who might be a writer or honestly any creative person, of kind of focusing on something that is not your strength to strengthen the thing that comes more naturally to you. I love that as message and idea. I don't think I do that, but I think I should.
I don't really know what it is about me as a person, but like when I'm bad at something or when I'm not sure about something, like there's something in my personality where I just want to like poke at it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not sure that that's the healthiest, but there it is.
But it's really fascinating because it makes sense that then you can find new pathways to the other things you're working on and kind of see what's in there and why. I like it. So you're also writing a short story right now. Give me a little glimpse into that.
Yeah, so with the short story work, it's really more about, I think sort of the difference between building the narrative poem versus the short story is that the narrative poem really focuses more on the mood, like what it feels like to be a human. And the way I think about fiction is, it kind of tells you about a person. And so, I'm sort of trying to play around with stuff from my past. So I was born and raised out in the Inland Empire, specifically Riverside. So I like to play around with, elements of, whether it's like the actual natural world around me, with the Santa Ana winds and the heat and, the smog and the really, really brown hills. And also the people that I grew up with. So Orange County is pretty notorious for being very wealthy, and Riverside is not. And the not is where I was raised and what I knew. And I think that there's a lot of just really interesting, lovely, wonderful humans that I grew up with. And I don't see a lot of those kinds of stories out there. And, I want to explore and celebrate, some of those people that I grew up with, because I feel like every human is inherently interesting if you spend enough time with them.
I love that. That is so cool. How interesting. And you're going to touch upon that in this short story that's part of the short story.
Yeah. So I'm trying to bring up, sort of the interesting, eclectic characters that I grew up with. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, it's a good message, especially post this whole period of time when we were really disconnected, really. And it's such a message of connection to celebrate all these humans and, all these souls and humans and personalities. And it's so very beautiful. Last minute, we'll mention your website, handcraftingalifecom. If you haven't visited it, guys, you have to go visit it because it's so cool. There's all these different crafts on there, and each one has a little bit of a narration to it and a little story behind it. Talk to me a little bit about that and just what your inspiration for doing it and doing it that way.
Well, so for me, the process of creation, like part of the reason I do this is because I physically have to. I'm a very anxious person. I always have been. I wasn't officially diagnosed until I was in my mid-20s, but it was always a thing. And I think one of the things my grandmother always said, when she was looking at me, was like, this girl needs something to do with her hands. So it's something to do with my hands. And the nice thing I think about crochet or quilting or knitting or whatever else it is that I'm doing is that it occupies a certain busy part of my brain in a way that lets me, a different part of my brain, I guess, open up, and I can go into this sort of meditative state. And I think that's kind of what I'm exploring when I do those sort of the narrative below the finished object is, I'm sort of exploring what was going through my mind when I made that, what was I thinking about? Like what piece of healing or happiness or, whatever it may be, what's coming up when I'm working on this. And then I just put it out there to share because that's what I do, I guess.
It's such a great thing because like this last year for me, for sure, I would say I was at my most anxious for obvious reasons. And I'm sure a lot of people were, which is cray times. Mm-hmm. And, just to have that as a tool of, making these things and just taking this, it's very present and it's a good message for everybody. Pick up a craft, pick up a thing. And, and so go look at Cassandra's website and you will see all the beautiful stuff that you can make. Cassandra, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's hold up. You have your book there. You guys have got to pick this up, All the Ways You Are Important to Me. If you have a little kiddo in your life, or even honestly, if you don't, I'm going to, I have a virtual copy, but I'm going to get myself a physical copy to have because I'm going to need to have these. I want to make these things, man. I want to make these cute little, they're all cute little guys. And go to her website, handcraftingforalife.com. And also everybody look for The Truth That Can't Be Told, volume number 2. Like I've said before, for those people, if you're not big readers, or even if you are, it's been so fun for me to read a collection of short stories and poems because they're all these like little snippets about life and little things. So you get this little piece and your mind just opens, boom, like automatically. So look out for that book coming up. Thank you so much, Cassandra.
Stephanie.
Okay, everybody, bye. We'll see you next time.